on the phone, I have one of the two filmmakers, the director of this new film, Detropia, Heidi Ewing. Of course, you made this film with your partner, Rachel Grady. Welcome to the program, Heidi.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, just so our audience knows, you, of course, were the director of the Academy Award nominated for documentary Jesus Camp.
That is correct. Guilty as charged.
And
Jesus Camp.
of course, also 12th in Delaware at Sundance. I mean, on and on and on. But let's talk about Detropia. I had an opportunity to watch the film. It's a beautiful film. I have some interest in Detroit. My wife is a filmmaker, documentary. She did a documentary on Detroit years and years ago. And
did she?
Yes, Come Unto Me. It was about the Heidelberg Project in Detroit.
Oh, I've been by there many times. It's wonderful.
And the film Detropia, it's a beautiful film. And talk to me a little bit about why you made this film.
Well, Detroit's my hometown as well. I was born and raised there, and I'm the daughter of a manufacturer. So we always knew the price of steel in my house, and it was always very connected to that industry. And I moved away, but my parents and my relatives all still live there. And going back many times a year over the years, I just noticed a greater sense of despair and a lot more foreclosures and a real downturn in attitude in the city. And we started wondering, why Detroit? Why is Detroit worse off than these other sort of Rust Belt cities around the country? And I really wanted to sort of investigate that and figure out what happened to Detroit and how it can make its way back. And so it's just started out as a personal project, a passion project. And then Rachel and I began talking about the city, and we thought, you know what, let's go down there and film a little bit and see what we find. And we became addicted after our first shoot with the personality, the humor, and the sort of world-weary edge that Detroiters have. And we thought Detroiters have a lot to tell the rest of the country. And what's happening in Detroit, started 25 years ago, and it's sort of trickling across the rest of the country. So I think now is a really good time for us to listen to Detroiters.
I mean, the images and the stories you center the film. Well, I don't know if you center the film, but there are about 4 or 5 major characters that you follow throughout the film. One is a woman who blogs and also works at a coffee shop. Another is the president of a local manufacturing union. Another guy owns a bar and was a former school teacher who is reliant upon people who work at the factories. You follow a couple that is doing art, a young couple of artists. All of these sort of different characters represent a different strain of what's happening in Detroit. But let me just back up a little bit. Give me a sense. Because Detroit's been, in trouble, like you say, for 25 years. But it seems in the past 10 years it's become even more acute.
It has. I mean, this is really a 10-year story. We don't really go too much in the history of Detroit. That would, require like a 10-part series. But in the last 10 years, Michigan has lost 50% of its manufacturing jobs, and the effects of globalization and outsourcing and the realities of this new era, this new economy we're living in, our undereducated population for the jobs that are necessary, et cetera, has really, really hit hardest in the last 10 years. And, Detroit is a place that continues to lose population. And this country is a country that continues to lose ground, when it comes to competition with other nations, sort of the rise of the rest. So definitely it's a living and breathing story. It's things have gotten worse, and I think that, it's really this film, and hopefully the city should be a wake-up call to the rest of the country that it's really time for us to sort of act collectively and make some decisions and support these industries so that we don't continue to lose ground. But Detroit is definitely one of those places that, other cities are looking at because it's sunk so low, because it's mired in such problems. If Detroit can make its way back and really have some sort of comeback, then that sort of would give a lot of other places real hope.
It's lost 240,000 residents in the past 10 years, which is a stunning number. I mean, it's
and and it continues to lose population. The mayor likes to say, Mayor Bing, who appears in our film, says, you know what, the exodus is not over. We have to stem the flow.
Right.
It continues to lose population, partly because the school system is in shambles, and the people who are moving to town are, young artists and empty nesters who sort of are looking for some edge and some excitement. But to bring families into the city, you really would need to fix the school system. So again, all the issues that Detroit is suffering, the rest of the country is thinking about as well. And one of the reasons we've launched this Kickstarter campaign to independently release the film is because we really want to bring this message as far and wide as possible, starting in September. So we really want the film to come out before the election because we think it's super, super topical to the points the country is interested in right now.
Yeah, we've got a link at majority.fm to that Kickstarter campaign. And now, the one really poignant part of the film is when the head of this Local 22, who represents workers who are working at American Axle, it's a massive plant, goes back to his members and says, "This is the deal they want to give us." Just talk about that scene, because that scene was just sort of stunning.
It's a heart-wrenching scene, and it's one of those things that it's happening every single day. Well, basically, American Axle, giant employer, had employed over 6,000 people, has moved most of its jobs to Mexico already, and there's one remaining plant left in Detroit City, and the contract was coming up, and the company came back to the membership of the UAW and said, look, basically take a $3.50 wage cut, $3.50 wage cut on that per hour in order for us to stick around. And these guys aren't even making a livable wage right now. This is going down to $11 an hour. And basically they said take it or leave it. And, some people have this idea of these, big bad unions that got too fat and got too lazy and got too entitled. Those days are over in Detroit, especially since the bailout and since, the craziness that went down in 2009. The union took a 50% wage cut on all new hires. So that the wages are already set at $14 an hour. So that in the scene, they say you make $11 an hour, take it or leave it. And basically you see the shock in these men's faces. How are they going to pay their heating bill? How are they going to – basically it speaks to the idea, the fact that the middle class is shrinking in this country, and really the working poor is just becoming this massive population in this country. And, obviously they want to keep their job, but they can't survive on these wages. And this is a real issue that a lot of people are feeling the squeeze across the country. It's a devastating scene. In the end, the plant decides to leave and takes the rest of the jobs to Mexico. And that happened while we were filming. This is not something that happened in the past. These decisions are being made by companies today. And so, without some sort of manufacturing base, without some sort of low-skilled labor, a lot of people are just going to be in that breadline.
Let's talk a little bit about the bailout. I don't think, I think there's some appreciation of how the bailout helped these industries. There's some charges on the right anyway that the unions got away, like bandits, because they got part ownership.
Owners, yeah.
Yeah, they got part ownership, but they gave up a tremendous amount. Like you say, a cut in wages for any new hires. They also lost a lot of benefits on the retirement end. How much impact did the bailout have for Detroit? My sense is it had an impact sort of outside of Detroit, but not so much inside Detroit.
It's funny. Detroit is like this, metonym for the auto industry, but in reality, there are very few plants operating in the city of Detroit. So the bailout didn't affect employment in the city of Detroit the way you would think it would. However, there are a lot of ancillary industries that make nuts and bolts and screws and all kinds of auto parts that are within the city of Detroit or just outside the city of Detroit, and those would have gone under without the bailout. It's the companies, I think, made out pretty well, and they are selling more cars, and so they're declaring that it was a big success. It hasn't really translated into giant employment numbers. I mean, what was it? 250,000 people lost their jobs in before the bailout, and only 25,000 I think have been hired back.
Yep.
So it's never going to be what it was. And a lot of these corporations are coming back and are making big profits, but most of those profits, those cars are being made outside of Detroit and often outside of the United States. So it's really, it's kind of a murky area to see how much that so-called comeback of the auto industry is translating into real jobs for people.
The other thing that struck me, and we should move on to sort of what the implications are for Detroit. You've got the city is almost like hollowed out. I mean, and you capture that with some very disturbing and beautiful images of a lot of these amazingly grand buildings that were in Detroit that are in fact hollowed out in many respects. The city is destroying literally 10,000 standalone houses, and is trying to contract. One of the moments, the really poignant moments in the film too, is when a woman is standing up at a city council meeting talking about the shutting down of transit lines. Just tell us about that moment, because that's a story that's happening. Much of the film is about how Detroit is in many respects a canary in the coal mine. And that dynamic that she expresses is happening all across the country.
Absolutely. There are so many cities in trouble. There are so many cities that can't pay their bills and municipalities that are about to go bankrupt. Detroit very, very nearly averted full bankruptcy a few months ago and went into a consent agreement with the state. Basically, it's being co-managed by the state of Michigan, and it's not the only one. Basically, Detroit is in the midst of shrinking itself in order to survive. There are 140 square miles of land. 40 square miles of that land are completely vacant. What do you do? How do you deliver? How do you pay for trash service and lighting and gas to neighborhoods where there's only one house on a block? It's just a mathematical problem, and so the mayor has been trying to figure out how to encourage residents to move, to leave their homes, to come to a more populated area. You can't force people to do that. It's a real conundrum Detroit is trying to solve. And in this scene you refer to, more bus lines have been, they started to cut more and more bus lines in less populated neighborhoods. And this woman, Stephanie, comes to the mic at a hearing and she says, listen, I make minimum wage. I work every day to improve myself. I get up at 6 in the morning to make it to my job so I'm not late. Please don't take my bus service away. It's all I have. It's my only tether between me and some sort of functional livelihood. It is an incredibly searing moment, and she speaks for so many thousands of people across this country that are trying to do their best, but their cities are failing them. And honestly, Detroit is just one of many, many municipalities this is happening to, and that's why we really think this is a national story.
Of course, you covered this sort of shrinking of the unions, and more than and a couple of people in that film really talk about what's happening with unions. They talk about foreclosures. The UAW, incidentally, has, and I think you obviously know this, has lost almost 42% of its members since 2004.
That's correct.
And
that's correct.
And we continue to see the shrinking of the base. I mean, you can see it in that one meeting with this guy's having with, like, I keep referring to it, but I can't. The look on some of these guys' faces when they're like, why is this company asking us to cut so much of our pay when we're barely making anything, still sticks in my head.
That company has moved to Mexico, and I think it's $3.42 all in Mexico per hour. So it's not even like the guys could take enough of a cut to satisfy the corporation. So really, I mean, some of these companies, I think, have to show some level of patriotism or just practicality. Who's going to buy their products if we're in a country that is mired with working poor that can't afford to even buy what they're producing? I mean, I think it's such short-term thinking on a lot of these corporations and such greed. They're like, if we can pay someone $3 an hour, I mean, these guys have no chance. I think we really need to have that conversation.
On that point, I was really struck because the guy who owned the bar towards the end of the film was making that very point, was basically saying, if we've got 2% of the country who are making over $300,000 a year, and then we hollow out the middle class, the whole thing is going to collapse on itself. At that moment, it occurred to me because we see through the film, and there are protests out at different locations as people are protesting the different cuts that are taking place there. But here's a guy who's using more or less the refrain of Occupy. I don't know when you shot that moment, but I wonder if there is if you came across any type of sort of attempts to organize people there and to sort of channel this mass frustration that seems to be felt by the residents of Detroit.
You know what's crazy? We shot that scene, all those scenes before Occupy even was born. So it was amazing that Occupy really was echoing all of the phrases that people were already saying in Detroit. It was really, really the craziest thing. There are some attempts to organize in Detroit, but I think, I really feel like that movement, if it takes off, is going to take place elsewhere and maybe inspire Detroit. Detroiters are really trying to go about their day, trying to make ends meet, trying to survive. And to be honest, there hasn't really been an amazing movement that you'd think to take root in Detroit.
Why do you think that is? I mean, on one level, you can almost see it. The same forces that are eating away at the fabric of their communities. You've got houses across the street that are abandoned, owned by the city and abandoned, houses next door that are on fire, a lack of services, a disconnect in the community fabric. Is that
Detroit
why?
Detroit is a very segmented place. Detroit is one of those places that never fully recovered from the riots in the 60s. It's massive. It's hard to get from one place to the next. It's hard to organize. You've got these multiple Detroits that don't talk to each other enough, and that's one of the biggest problems. You've got all these young, fresh artist-type newcomers coming to the city, moving in, very, very excited, very energetic, and they do a lot together among themselves. But they really don't have enough contact with those lifelong Detroiters that could really, really use a boost and use some sort of organizing factor. So you really, really have these multiple worlds that are not communicating with each other, and it's really, really a problem for Detroit to really come together for that reason.
That's a big racial divide as well.
It's a huge racial divide. The city it's over 85% African American. Most of the newcomers are young Caucasian people coming in, and these two groups really need to start talking to each other because I think they could really, really help each other. But it's definitely, I'd say, one of the more segregated cities in the country, and that's really, really hard to overcome.
How has this film been? I mean, obviously, you don't have any sort of wide public distribution yet, and that's what you're raising the money for on Kickstarter. But I'm curious as to how the people who supported Jesus Camp relative to this, because I mean, sort of on an ideological spectrum, I would imagine there are similar people who are sort of encouraging of this documentary. Have you found that there's a difference in any way in the way these films are being received?
Well, you know what? We opened, we premiered this film at the Sundance Film Festival in January, and we've been playing the festival circuit ever since. And I'm telling you, every place we go, doesn't matter if it's east, west, south, north. I mean, in Cleveland, they had to add 2 screenings. There was 1,000 people that couldn't get in. In Toronto, Canada, people were clamoring after the film because it really, really speaks to the anxiety that everyone is feeling right now about the direction of this country. It's not a film just about Detroit. Where are we headed next? How are we going to take some kind of collective action and get past this gridlock, this congressional and political gridlock, to make some decisions as a country? Are there going to be certain industries we support? Are we going to just become a second-rate nation? Are we going to invest in infrastructure or in education? Are we going to invest in manufacturing or care what gets made here? These are major questions that this country is grappling with right now. And I think that's why so far, at least on the festival circuit, there's been a very emotional response to this film, even from high school students up to retirees. I've been really, really surprised so far. You just don't know when you make a film who it's going to touch. You hope that it touches people. And the reason that we're deciding to independently distribute this film is because it's the only way we can get it seen in a lot of different markets, including in Canada and the U.S. Most distributors just want to take you to New York and L.A., preach to the choir, and and move on with it to DVD. And the reason that we're taking this campaign forward, the Kickstarter campaign right now, is because of the responses so far. They have been impassioned, and that has really given us the energy and the empowerment to get this message out to the people and have community screenings and really try to use this film as a tool, a talking point, to get the people to discuss the anxieties in this country right now and how we're going to solve some of these problems. So it's been overwhelming so far, and we haven't even released it. So it makes us feel really optimistic. And you know what? The entrepreneurship that Kickstarter encourages is what this country needs and what Detroit needs to move forward. We need a lot of little businesses, a lot of little entrepreneurs. We gotta stop relying on these giant companies and thinking that they're going to save the day. And that's what I like about this DIY movement and the Kickstarter, is that it really promotes entrepreneurship and getting off, your duff and doing it yourself. And so I think it's sort of fitting that the Detroit movie is going on its own like this.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But one thing that was, sort of, I mean, there's only so much you can put into a film, but there was sort of a stunning sense that nobody really had any notion of any type of solutions. I mean, you shoot some scenes in the mayor's office, where the mayor is talking about how they're going to plan for this or what they're going to do. And there really is just a real sense of like, never mind, like you say, never mind, healing the patient. How do we just get the bleeding to stop?
I think it speaks to that there are no easy silver bullets. I mean, Mayor Bing, his staff, everyone is doing their utmost. The Detroit Works Project, Dan Gilbert, a local entrepreneur from Quicken Loans, all these guys are getting together, and Phil Cooley, who owns some businesses in the city. They're all getting together and trying to figure out how to solve the problem. I think the fact that we don't have a giant solution that's presented in the movie is because there isn't one thing that's going to save Detroit or these other cities. It's trying a lot of different things. It's shrinking the city. It's trying to get people to move into the city. It's promoting entrepreneurship. It's trying to stop the hemorrhaging at the unions. It's trying to stop companies from taking their business abroad. So many things have to happen on so many levels for a place like Detroit to come back to becoming a functional city that works, and that goes for a lot of other places. And unfortunately, we looked for one great big fat idea, like make the whole place into a giant food-producing urban farm. Well, that might happen, but it hasn't yet. It's one idea. So, we didn't want to pretend like there was some easy bow, some golden thing that we can present at the end of the movie is how to fix everything. We didn't find it. Detroit hasn't found it, and America hasn't found it. And so we decided to sort of leave it in a truth-telling kind of way, that the place is open for ideas and in need of ideas. And hopefully maybe people will come forward when they see this film and sort of join that think tank.
Well, we've got links up to your site and to the Kickstarter campaign. Heidi Ewing, the film is Detropia. Hopefully, folks will have a chance to see it in the coming months on the big screen. It's a beautiful film, and at the very least, within the coming months, I imagine it'll be available via the regular means in which we see films now.
That's right. Look out for it and join our Kickstarter campaign, please. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Heidi. We appreciate
Thanks,
talking to you.